Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
The Saratoga City Council meeting, an inside look at the decisions that affect you and our community.
Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019 City Council meeting. Tonight we have 4 public hearings. The first public hearing is to amend Chapter 225 Birch Street City Lots and Garages, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. So this hearing is to amend Chapter 225, the City Vehicle and Traffic Code, with respect to parking on Birch Street. There's a public hearing to consider the implementation of alternate side of the street parking on Birch Street between the intersection of Washington Street and West Circular. Currently, parking is allowed on both sides. We've received complaints that this street is too narrow for cars to pass safely with vehicles parked on both sides. And so we're going to be having a public hearing about making this alternate side of the street parking.
Thank you. If anybody would like to speak on this, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address. Okay, if nobody's here for that, Commissioner, we will be closing this tonight?
Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am. This one we're going to keep open.
Okay.
Roger, that was also for the city lots and garages?
That's a second, that's a separate, that's the next public hearing, right?
No, they were combined.
They're combined into one. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we had combined them into one. Well, then let me also announce what the second one is that's been combined with the first. To amend Chapter 225 of the City Code Vehicle and Traffic with respect to time limit parking in the city parking lots. The upper deck of Putnam Street, we had recently amended the code to make this all 3-hour parking. We're now looking to restore 24-hour parking on the upper deck of the Putnam Street lot, with the exception of those spaces which are adjacent to the west wall of that lot, which will remain 3-hour spaces.
Great. So again, if anybody would like to speak on this, please step forward to the microphone. State your name and address. I don't know.
Push it toward, pull it there.
There you go.
Is it working now?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, my name's Megan O'Carroll. I live at 1 Spring Street on the corner of Broadway and Spring in the Broadway Spring condominium building. I very much appreciate the 24-hour parking on the top of Putnam Street. As a resident, I definitely rely on the availability of this long-term parking to both enjoy and live in Saratoga. It's my understanding that this proposal only increases short-term parking at the expense of long-term parking space, and that no long-term parking is being added nearby. Until the city is able to provide a parking plan that addresses the needs of visitors and residents alike, I cannot support this proposal. I hope instead that the city will consider completing a full parking review because it is so very much needed. A well thought out plan that takes into account the number of full-time residents in downtown in addition to the number of visitors that come through, I think would be a better baseline to inform the decisions on parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Pam Funicello, and I reside at 116 Circular Street in the city and also own rental property, a 9-unit rental property on Phyla Street, 61 Phyla Street. Our parking was radically and shockingly affected when the 3-hour parking limitation went in on that second floor of the Putnam lot, and I appreciate the responsiveness in reversing that and rethinking that, and now considering this amendment to the proposal. But I just want to add my sentiments to the previous speaker to say that this is a long-term problem, that you're looking for long-term solutions in the future, but recognize that even when you consider, for example, the addition of the downtown lot by the City Hall, that's a wonderful thing. But then when you think about how cars will be displaced during that period of time, I suspect that not many people are here tonight on the parking issue, but I do suspect that everyone here are residents of Saratoga, people who live and enjoy residing in the city. And I would think that as our city council, I want you to really think about how decisions made to enhance the experience of visitors to the city, giving visitors more opportunity to be here and enjoy the city, also impacts the people who live, as I have in the city for now 34 years. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'll just say, and I appreciate the comments that were made there. We are looking at putting together a more comprehensive parking plan for the city. In the interim, we felt that we needed to make some very minor adjustments in order to represent all of the different constituencies in the city. And I think that these adjustments now are well-founded and will certainly carry us until we can get a more long-term plan in place.
Great. And you will be closing this?
I will be closing this now.
Great. Thank you. On to our second public hearing. It's capital budget amendments, city buildings and facilities, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Scirocco.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing to amend the 2019 capital budget, city buildings and facilities. This budget amendment increases the 2019 capital budget by $4,226,700. That's to cover expenses related to City Hall restoration and renovation project. Of the total amount, $1,313,988 will be provided by insurance reimbursement, and $2,912,712 will be new bonding. This additional capital funding for city buildings and facilities will provide the required funding for the City Hall restoration and renovation project. Specifically, the additional funding will be combined with existing funding to award the plumbing and electrical contracts at $887,000 and $2,250,000 respectively. Additionally, it contains a 15% planned contingency of $1,269,300 in the event there are unforeseen conditions in renovating an old building. Potential changes from DRC review and the Office of Court Administration requests. $99,000 is also requested for a construction manager to coordinate the prime contractors, architectural firms, and city staff on a project if necessary. All unused funds from the contingency or construction manager will be repurposed and used for the remaining city buildings and facilities.
If anybody would like to speak on this, please step to the microphone, state your name and address. Okay, then we'll be closing this as we have a vote on the agenda tonight. Moving on to the next public hearing is a capital budget amendment, Geyser Road Trail. This is to update the capital budget to reflect all funds received to date and be prepared to award bids once the bidding process is completed. If anybody would like to speak on this, please step forward to the mic, state your name and address. Geyser Road Trail. Okay, and we will be closing this tonight too, as there is a vote on the agenda. Our fourth item is public hearing is a Liberty Affordable Housing, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Frank.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been on since April. This relates to the proposed project at the end of Jefferson Street by the Racino, and we've had this on since April, and the petitioner has asked us to keep this on until they get certain studies and testing done there.
Great. If anybody would like to speak on that, please come to the mic, state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Art Loomis with Liberty Affordable Housing, Rome, New York. Wanted to update you on some of those additional reports and testing. The endangered species part of the seeker has been completed. They did site visits in May and June looking for blue lupine and other endangered species or habitat, and none was found. We're told that the letter report will be issued on July 8th, and probably the full secret very shortly after that, which we'll share with everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we are keeping that public hearing open, and we'll move to our...
I'd like to respond
sure.
to Liberty.
Sure, absolutely.
I sent you a letter in January or February, an email. The neighbors had indicated that they had some very specific issues, and I haven't heard back from anyone at Liberty, and I'm hoping that I will actually have a response at this time, and I would think in the foreseeable future I'm not in support of the project. And you don't have to respond to me now, but I would like a response to the letter that I did send to you.
Okay.
I'm sort of surprised that I didn't get one.
I'm not sure why you didn't get
Nope, didn't get it.
But
Okay.
I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll move to a roll call, please.
Commissioner Frank?
Present.
Commissioner Madigan?
Present.
Commissioner Saratoga?
Here.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Mayor Kelly?
Here.
Supervisor Beach? Here. Supervisor Gasser? Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the public comment period. I ask that you try to keep your comments brief, up to 2 minutes. There will be a bell to signify the end of your time. Public comment period will be for 15 minutes. Please be respectful to the speakers while they are addressing the council. Please address the council as a whole. Anyone who wishes to address the council on any issue may now come forward, state your name and address, and provide your comments.
Hi, Jennifer Leidig, 11 Pearl Street. I'm here to speak about the Morgan Street acquisition that just happened and the UDO. And we've previously requested that you pull it out. We feel that there's enough from the entire complete package. We feel there's enough public input. I also would like to read a letter from Teresa Capizzola, who was on the comp plan committee. And she recognizes that the comp plan committee was 4 minutes of discussion with the only input from the attorney from the hospital. It was not on the agenda. The residents did not have an opportunity to discuss it during that 4 minutes. And I know that she had sent it to the 5 of you. She said, everyone wants a hospital to succeed, and the plans were presented in a manner which in its face may have seemed logical, but failed to take into account the other side. In going over the recordings of the comp plan committee, we were advised by the consultants that these areas we might be changing were general locations, and there would be a lot of white space in between. I believe referencing the illustrative view or buffer zones between residential and commercial or institutional zones. I drove around the hospital area near the adjoining long-established neighborhood of mostly older homes. Every home on every block that I could see had a sign, Save Morgan Street. Clearly, the neighborhood is overwhelmingly against this project, since I believe strongly that the comp plan, which was an envision our city's future, should have been a product of the citizens of the city. The objection of the neighborhood to the hospital's expansion would have been influential to me as a committee member. Commissioner Battistone recognized this flaw. he made a motion to the council to amend the comp plan.
Thank
And
you.
it was
Thank you.
denied. You're welcome.
Good evening. Angelo Calboni, President and CEO of Saratoga Hospital. Live on Luckberry Lake Road in Saratoga Springs. Briefly, I wanted to address a question that has arisen regarding the timing of our acquisition of the property. We did a press release, but I do want to stress a couple points. We've been evaluating that property for a number of years, and I think you know that. The Collins family that owns it has been incredibly patient. They have had potential buyers, multiple buyers, recently had the opportunity for another business venture and decided they needed to sell the property this year, preferably by summer. They reached out to us and asked us, were we in fact serious of acquiring the property? If so, they needed to close, or they needed to move on to another buyer. Our board, looking at this as an important investment in our future, either now or in the future, it was clear to them that they needed to acquire the property and make sure it would ultimately be part of the hospital campus. That really drove the timing. The suggestion that we did it to somehow leverage or pressure the council was irritating to us. We had no intention of doing that. We don't believe you would be pressured or moved by the fact that we acquired the property. It was really a business decision, a strategic decision on the part of the hospital. And frankly, we don't think that little of you that was going to move you in one direction or not. It was an important thing that we had to do to secure that property for the next 100 years of the hospital's existence in this community. That's why we did it now. Our board members have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization. That's the highest level of responsibility to an organization you can have as a board member. It is a personal and legal responsibility to do what's right for the organization. They believe they would have been irresponsible to not acquire the property to make sure it was a part of our future. And that's how the decision happened now. I wanted to be clear about that.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Holte. I live at 19 Collins Terrace in Birch Run. I sent a letter with some attachments to both the mayor and the commissioners. I hope you received it. Also on there was 2 video links from the original comprehensive plan committee. And the only commissioners I know who were present at the time were Commissioner Madigan and Sharoko. And I believe Peter Martin was a supervisor at the time. However, none of you really were involved with the planning comprehensive plan committee, and all of you maintained that it was properly done. I also attached an agenda for that evening from November 17, 2014, and it was never mentioned. I researched all the archived records for both the comprehensive plan committee and also the city council after that committee submitted its recommendations and until passage. And there was no mention on any agenda of hospital rezoning, Morgan Street rezoning. Now you have 4 part-time deputy commissioners, or 4 full-time deputy commissioners, 1 full-time deputy mayor. I invite them to look at all the agendas and find me where it was published that that property was being rezoned or considered to be rezoned or included in the comprehensive plan. And also I know the mayor, the city attorney may not have gotten a copy of this. He didn't forward it to. I have a copy for it to him. I didn't have his email address. If he gives it to me, I'll forward it to him so he could click on the video links. It will come up on appeal. He should look at it. The city doesn't have a very good record with appeals as far as it goes to the parking garage at the city center or the cold blue shelter that they were building on Baldwick Street. So maybe you want to look at this before it's appealed. Otherwise, you're going to have a maybe possibly 50-50 chance at losing another round on appeal. And the last thing I want to say is that there was 2 occasions where the hospital said that properties.
Thank you.
Hi, Craig Klotz, 21 Collins Terrace. I stand against the rezoning of parcel 1. This is not us as residents against the hospital. This is us as residents against zoning a neighborhood to an office building and parking lot. This process has been flawed from the beginning. We've sent the videos, we've sent letters to you explaining how that was. It's been a lack of transparency by the comprehensive committee, as well as the original city council. And for those reasons alone, I think you guys should reject this. And before you make up your mind, when you go home tonight, look at the house next to you. Now imagine that being an office building. And ask yourself if you would vote for that. And let that guide your decision.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Barbara Holtag at 19 Collins Terrace, and I just have a letter I'd like to submit from a neighbor of mine who asked me to bring it in, who couldn't be here today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Claudia Bramer. I'm an attorney representing a large group of residents who live in the Morgan Street and Myrtle Street and Birch Run neighborhoods. We're going by the name of Saratoga Concerned Neighbors. It's a large group. You can go to our Facebook page and check it out. There has been a lot of focus on the comprehensive plan process, and one of the things that I want to point out to you is that the comprehensive plan, the future land use map, still says that one of the options for parcel number 1 is residential zoning. So we're asking that you reject any change and leave it as residential zoning the way it has been and the way that it should be. Although you have no formal application before you from the hospital, it is clear that they want to develop this property at some point in the future. At such time as the hospital wants to rezone the land to move forward with its plans for redevelopment of parcel 1, it should come to the council with a petition for rezoning and its application to the planning board. Until that time, this parcel should remain residential. Changing parcel number 1 to OMB2 means that it will be a commercial office park with medical and professional office buildings and parking lots. You can imagine all of the negative impacts from that kind of change to your neighborhood. And it certainly does not provide the maximum protection of residential areas, which is one of the primary purposes of your zoning ordinance. If you decide to move forward with the rezoning at this time, then you need to take a hard look at all of the implications of paving over 17 acres of land to turn that into an office complex. Even if you're not considering the application by the hospital, consider the impacts from changing those 17 acres to a commercial zoning district. That will result in at least one significant adverse impact. And I'm asking you that you consider requiring the preparation of an environmental impact statement for this change, so that you can analyze all of those impacts and consider every possible mitigation measure. Again, it's our position that the potential negative impacts far outweigh the positive and that the rezoning should be rejected. Please protect parcel number 1 and keep it residential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Matisse, and I live at 28 Friar Tuck Way. And I'm here tonight to discuss parcel number 1. As I had suggested in 2016 when I was on the city council, I do believe that the city council did not pay enough attention to this when we approved the comprehensive plan in 2015. I do believe that this is a drastic change for that parcel, and in a situation like this, it's a aspect of the comprehensive plan that really needed a lot more deliberation, a lot more attention, and certainly a lot more publication so neighbors and other people could have a sense of what this would mean for our community. I think it's important to put our neighborhoods first, and I really believe that if you would bring this back for consideration for an amendment to the comprehensive plan, there would be the opportunity to hear from all sides regarding this parcel and regarding whether or not this is what's in the best interest of our city and of our neighborhoods. We also have to keep in mind there's a parcel right next to this that the hospital owns, that they've owned since 2014. They paid $600,000 for a $1 million parcel. Why aren't they using that for this project? It would be easily accessible from their existing driveway off of Myrtle Street. So why aren't they using that? So there are a lot of questions here, and I think that this deserves much more scrutiny. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alice Smith. I live on 8 Woodland Court. I have spoken here before. Again, I support.
Just speak into the mic so they can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Alice Smith. I live on 8 Woodland Court. I'm a neighbor of this parcel in question. There was a big mistake when it was introduced in the comprehensive plan initially. That has been well documented. Mr. Thiessen just spoke up, also, and Mr. Holte also documented that he looked at all the minutes, which anybody here can prove it was. The city council has taken a stand that it cannot be separated from the rest of the comprehensive plan, that the whole comprehensive plan is being delayed because of this one parcel. The comprehensive plan is not written on stone or the Word of God, and we're not trying to change the Constitution of the United States. We are just requesting that they revise one parcel in a small city in the United States, which has not been looked at carefully. The reasons I will not repeat, they've been repeated many times, but it should be revised the way it should, and our city council is the one responsible for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, members of the council, I'm Matthew J. Jones. I'm a lawyer for the Saratoga Hospital. And I'm about to violate the second rule that they taught us in law school, which is never speak against your own dentist, because he is the one with the Novocaine. And so my apologies in advance, Chris. But I wanted to bring to your attention the things that are part of the record, which I think you're fairly familiar with. But in 2015, the Comprehensive Plan Committee was unanimous in its recommendation for the change to the comprehensive plan to this institutional zoning. In June of 2016, and 15, I beg your pardon, June of 2015, you were unanimous, the City Council was unanimous in adopting the amendments to the comprehensive plan. In the fall of that year, the Planning Board was unanimous in its issuance of a negative seeker declaration and its recommendation to the then City Council for a change of zoning, a planned unit development, which would provide for a medical office building. Most recently, in April of this year, the County Planning Board adopted a unanimous 4-0 resolution in which it recommended approval of the change of zoning that Camaris has recommended to you. And most recently, the City Planning Board, on your agenda tonight, Mayor, they also recommended by a vote of 7-0. Commissioner Mattison, in fairness, is the only on-record no vote. In 2016, he offered an amendment to change the comprehensive plan, and that failed by a vote of 1 in favor and 2 opposed. So there is a single vote supporting a change back to the 2001 comprehensive plan, which is the old comprehensive plan. But for that, all of the comprehensive plan committee, the planning board, and the previous city council have been unanimous in their support of this. And I think that should tell you something about where the matter stands for your consideration. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Can I move the microphone?
Sure. Absolutely. I don't know if it'll reach. We just have to be careful.
I'm not gonna let you guys do my Christmas lights.
There we go.
Hi, my name is Mary Carter. I live in Saratoga Springs. And not looking for any sympathy for the devil this time, but I did give up my tickets for Fish tonight. So I could be here because it's very important to remind the doctors here that they are to do no harm. Building on our land is doing harm. It's doing harm to the people. It's doing harm to the residents. It's doing harm to Saratoga Springs. However, having said that, I know all of you sitting there, whether you were there 3 years ago or not, had already made up your mind. you were going to vote for the hospital. And why? That is the question. Because understand, the voters of this city have a voice, and they use it. And if you have any intention of being here in January, give it up, because you're not.
Anybody else want to speak? Okay, then we'll be closing the public comment period. Council, anybody like to comment back? Okay.
You have an item on your agenda later that we're gonna, we can go over what the council's plan is gonna be going forward.
Yep, so there's no presentations, there's no executive session. I move that the city council approve the consent agenda as described with the agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. On to the mayor's department. My first item is an announcement, land use board openings. This is to remind the council and the public that the city is continually seeking applications for land use boards and other committees. If you are interested, please submit an application on our website. My second item is an announcement, the city and county planning board advisory opinions, draft zoning map alignment, and Vince DeLeonardis is going to give us a review and an overall of the process.
Thank you. Just briefly, and Mr. Jones already mentioned some of what I'm going to say with regard to the county and city planning board, but just to briefly review, in March of this year, Camiros came and presented proposed changes to the zoning map as part of an effort to bring our zoning in alignment with the comprehensive plan. That zoning map consisted of 18 proposed changes. In April of this year, the City Council voted unanimously to send those proposed changes to both the County Planning Board and the City Planning Board for advisory opinions. On April 30th, we received the written opinion from the County Planning Board providing a favorable review of the proposed changes. And on June 24th, after multiple meetings, after hearing from the public and after deliberating, we received the written opinion from the City Planning Board, which ultimately determined that 17 of the 18 proposed changes are, in their determination, consistent with the comprehensive plan and not contrary to the city zoning ordinance. The one portion of the zoning map that the City Planning Board did not find consistent with the comprehensive plan is that portion of the map identified as number 17. And that's the area in the West Circular Railroad Run area. The consultant Camiros had proposed that the portion of that area that actually comprises of Railroad Run be designated as parkland recreation. The City Planning Board determined that that zoning change was in fact appropriate. However, the proposed zoning change that Camiros had provided of changing the WD or warehouse district to T4 was determined by them to not be consistent with the comprehensive plan and to in fact be contrary to the zoning ordinance. And they provided a recommendation that the council consider UR3 for that particular zoning designation. The area identified on the zoning map as number 1, while the City Planning Board determined unanimously that it was in fact consistent with the comprehensive plan and not contrary to zoning, they did nonetheless recommend that council at least consider taking a look at the zoning determination that is being provided for OMB2 and take a look at OMB1 as an alternative. They're similar. OMB2 allows for actual hospitals and nursing and convalescent homes, and OMB1 has therefore slightly fewer permissible uses. So that's the determination that the council sought. That's the determination that's now before you. We will be providing that to Camiros for their review and evaluation, and at some point in the future, council will then have input from the consultant and determine the next steps, which would likely include setting public hearings and at some point in the future actually acting upon it. Keep in mind, though, that Camiros is still progressing with the zoning ordinance itself and the UDO specifically, and they have indicated an expectation of having a draft sometime toward the end of the summer or the early fall. So that's where we stand. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. And just to respond to some of the comments that we have heard tonight and also at the planning board in prior council meetings, There's some reference to the Comprehensive Plan Committee itself and the process that they undertook in ultimately providing for the designation of Parcel 1, which is the one that's at issue for institutional, in reference to how long that process may or may not have taken, and I've heard indications of it. It was a 6-minute occurrence. Keep in mind, and the public should be aware, that the Comprehensive Plan Committee did not adopt the comprehensive plan. It was the City Council who adopted the comprehensive plan, and they did so not after a review of 6 minutes or 6 hours or 6 days, but after a review of 6 months, including 4 public workshops and 2 public hearings. And it was duly adopted by this council, and the efforts that are being undertaken are to bring our zoning in alignment with that comprehensive plan. I don't know if there are any questions.
I'm good. I'd like to just also say that the city and county opinions, advisory opinions regarding the draft zoning map alignment to the comprehensive plan are now both available. These have been uploaded with this agenda and are available on the city website. My next item is an appointment to Open Space Advisory Board. I will be appointing John M. McMahon to Open Space Advisory Board. John is a city resident of this. He's the city resident and is very active as a volunteer for this board. Prior to moving to Saratoga Springs, he was active local planning efforts in the Tully, New York area. He will be replacing a resigning member, and his term will run from 7/2/19 through 12/31/22. My next item is an appointment, Saratoga Springs Preservation Foundation Board. Each year, the mayor is allowed to an appointment to the Saratoga Springs Preservation Foundation Board pursuant to the board's bylaws. My choice this year for this board is Dorothy Rogers Bullis. Dorothy is currently a member of the City Center Board and takes an active interest in architecture, planning, and preservation. This appointment will commence on July 2, 2019 and run through the end of May 2020 when the Preservation Foundation has its 2020 annual meeting. My next item is discussion and vote approval to pay invoice 19016 with InMotion Air LLC in the amount of $3,900 for AirCell T-7 BP backstop. I move that the City Council approve the payment of invoice 19016 with InMotion Air LLC in the amount of $3,900 for AirCell T-18 BP backstop as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote East Side Playground Equipment Donation. In accordance to Section 5.1 of the East and West Side Recreation Field Use and Management Maintenance Agreement, all equipment installed on fields is owned by the school district. The Recreation Department is requesting to formally donate the East Side Recreation Playground equipment valued at $8,884.21 to the Saratoga Springs City School District. I move that the City Council approve the donation to the City School District of the East Side Playground equipment, which is valued at $8,884.21 as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Next item is discussion and vote, capital budget amendment to the Geyser Road Trail project number 1200 in the amount of $1,409,600. This is to update the capital budget to reflect all funds received to date, so the budget will be accurate and the city will be prepared to award bids once the bidding process is completed. This will require an affirmative 4/5 of the council. I move that the City Council approve the capital budget amendment to the Geyser Road Trail number 1200 in the amount of $1,409,600 as described with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, roll call. Sorry.
Commissioner Frank?
Aye.
Commissioner Madigan?
Aye.
Commissioner Toronto?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Mayor Kelly?
Aye. Thank you. My next item is discussion and vote amendment to the second amended and restated declaration of covenants and restrictions of Stephen Ethier regarding 166 to 168 Jefferson Street. I'm going to ask Vince DeLeonardis to come to the mic to describe number 8 and 9 on the agenda. Number 9 would be the same idea, but at a different address, 287, 289 Jefferson Street.
Yeah, the declaration for 166, 168 Jefferson Street is just to switch units within that building for moderate and middle income qualifying. There was a prospective purchaser who wanted a particular unit. It was reviewed by Lindsay and Brad, who had no objection other than the fact that the units were specifically called out in the declaration. So that's what the amendment relating to this agenda item. And just since I'm up here, the amendment relating to the next agenda item is for a different parcel, and it brings it into alignment with the amendments we previously did for 166, 168, but for a different piece of property.
Thank you. So I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign amendment to the second amended and restated declaration of covenants and restrictions of Stephen Ethier regarding 166 to 168 Jefferson Street as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Next item is discussion and vote amendment to the second amended and restated declaration of covenants and restrictions of Stephen Ethier regarding 287 to 289 Jefferson Street. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign amendment to the second amended and restated declaration of covenants with restrictions of Stephen Ethier regarding 287 to 289 Jefferson Street as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign intermunicipal agreement between the County of Saratoga and the City of Saratoga Springs for animal shelter services rendered 1/1/19 through 12/31/19. This is an annual agreement between the county and the city for animal shelter services rendered through 2019. The cost to the city is about $5,000 per year. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign intermunicipal agreement between the County of Saratoga and the City of Saratoga Springs for animal shelter services rendered 1/1/19 through 12/31/19 as included with the agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. My next item is to set a public hearing to amend the capital budget for the Greenbelt Trail Downtown Connector number 1252. In 2017, $78,500 from the Parkland Reserve was approved and budgeted for the Greenbelt Trail. The Director of Finance has recently informed us that the reserve was overcommitted and these funds are no longer available. The Director recommended the use of Recreation Trust as a replacement, and we were presenting that at the 7/16/19 City Council meeting after the public hearing.
How much time do you think for the 5? So we'll do 6:50.
Yeah. My next item is to set a public hearing to amend the capital budget for 12 land purchase cateros, number 1194, in the amount of $6,500, and this is a decrease. In 2012, the city budgeted $30,000 for a grant from Saratoga County. Ultimately, $23,500 was received and used towards the land purchase. The budget amendment will correct the capital budget to amount to match the grant received. This is a decrease in the capital budget. And this concludes my agenda. At this time, we are going to move to DPW for item number 6 on their agenda, and then we'll be jumping over to finance for 3, 4, and 5, and then we'll continue on to accounts.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pennell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pennell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pennell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Thank you, Mayor. This is number 6 on my agenda, budget amendment for the capital city buildings and facilities for $4,226,700. This budget amendment increases the 2019 capital budget by $4,226,700 to cover expenses related to the City Hall restoration and renovation project. This total includes $1,313,998,000 allocated from insurance reimbursement for restoration as a result of fire water damage. Also included is $912,712 in new bonding to award the plumbing and electrical contracts, and a 15% project contingency and funding for a part-time city construction manager. All unused funds from the contingency, construction manager, or contracts will be repurposed for the use in the city buildings and facilities capital account. The insurance funds identified are only provided for the restoration portion of the building and are the result of discussions between Adirondack Trust, the Accounts Department, the Travelers Insurance, and input from DPW. The Director of Risk and Safety and DPW hired an independent third-party construction estimator, Trophy Point, to review the insurance claim areas, and they calculated a number higher than what Travelers estimated. Following discussions, Travelers agreed to the Trophy Point estimate in the city's favor. To award the plumbing and electrical contracts, an additional $1,344,393 is required to be combined with existing capital funding. $887,000 for plumbing and $2,250,000 for the electrical. As a result of this rebid process, the city is saving $27,000 compared to the prior electrical bid. And the plumbing contractor, Colette, is also the HVAC contractor, reducing the amount of prime contractor coordination. Multiple prime contracts were required by Wick's Law due to the overall project cost exceeding $500,000. At the last city council meeting, the general contractor, MLB, and the HVAC contractor, Colette, were awarded and already proceeding with the project. A 15% contingency equating to $1,269,300 has been received and submitted for this project. This takes into consideration unforeseen conditions as a result of renovating a circa 1871 building. This amount also considers future changes as a result of DRC review of the music hall finishes and ongoing requests by the Office of Court Administration. The contingency amount will also be utilized for unexpected finishes or furniture purchases and additional digitization of city records. The construction manager is estimated at $99,000 for this project and will coordinate efforts between the project's 2 architectural and engineering firms, 3 prime contractors, and city staff. Should these parties work together without a construction manager, the project management will be handled by city staff, and the funds will be repurposed to the city buildings and facilities. It is important to note that this building amendment and the City Hall renovation and restoration project are the result of 2 items outside of City Council's control. The first was a lightning strike on August 17, 2018, and resulting fire and water damage inside of the building. The second was a mandate from the New York State Legislature and Office of Court Administration to provide adequate facility space and a second hearing room to accommodate a second full-time city court judge. This mandate created many of the building changes that resulted in overall project costs. DPW worked with every department and OCA to design a project that met the city's current and future needs. This final capital amendment is the accumulation of collaborative work between the council and city staff to the benefit of the public to provide a better city hall for generations to come. Therefore, I make a motion to amend the capital budget for the city buildings and facilities in an amount of $4,222,700, and that's a motion.
This also requires a 4/5 of council. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion?
I have a few comments and some questions.
Sure.
So this is obviously one of the larger endeavors that the city has taken on in certainly a large number of years. I mean, this is a $10 million project, It involves every department in the city, and it involves, in one fashion or another, almost every resident of the city, because the residents rely on the services that are performed in this city hall. So it's a very important project, and I appreciate significant work that's been done by the commissioner's staff in pulling this project to the stage where we are. A part of where we are right now is considering an amendment to a budget that we had passed on November 28th of 2018 that had followed on the heels of what I thought was a fairly comprehensive presentation at Budget Workshop number 4 by the commissioner's staff, where they discussed the concept plans for each of the floors in the building, and also discussed at that time the estimates for the cost broken out by floor and for the building as a whole. But here we're at a point which is not unexpected, but where now we need to take another reckoning of where we are, because we're being asked to amend our capital budget. And I just have a couple of questions, and maybe it'd be helpful. I'll ask the three and then come back and we can. Yeah.
If I can answer one.
Okay. Is the architectural and engineering design complete at this time? Are there any building capital items that are not included in the proposal, that are not included in the amended capital budget, that we are anticipating having to expend on this building in the immediate future? Can you describe what the actual change to the budget expense is with respect to this amendment? So I can go back and give them to you one at a time if you want, but I just wanted to.
The first answer, yes. The complete, design has been done. As far as the detailed design, as far as, that's how we did the bidding. That's how we work through the bidding process. We're able to do, the consultants did the complete design, and they go out to bid. Then people bid in on based on what the consultants do in their complete design. The second one was?
The second one is, are there any other capital expenses with respect to the City Hall building that we expect to incur in the very near future that are not included in this budget amendment?
Right. Again, you're working on a building that's 1871.
Okay.
If you recall, we spent close to $700,000 just on asbestos abatement.
Mm-hmm.
We managed to get all the asbestos out of the building. At least we feel that we did. We found asbestos buried in the floor in what they call the tunnel toward the front of the building down in the basement. Your area that that public safety will be in. We managed to get it. We think we managed to get it all out of there. That could be an issue. That's why we have a 15% contingency. We put that money aside so in the event that there is some unexpected occurrences in there, whatever, because you don't know when you're in there renovating. If you're building new, it's different. But when you renovate, you have unexpected circumstances that come up, and obviously we don't want to stop the project. That's why we did the asbestos abatement. So at this point, I'm going to say no. There aren't any that we anticipate. Again, I say anticipate. You never know. You never know. I mean, when we were doing this project, the area in public safety downstairs in juvenile aid wasn't part of didn't get any damage. But when we went down through there and we started looking at the whole building, it was brought to our attention that there was asbestos down there, and there was water leaking in the building downstairs, from the street. So obviously that's going to be part of the project too. We had our engineers take a look at that. I believe they come up with a plan to remediate it, and we're working with the PD to try to get it done. So again, it's hard to anticipate any unexpected. There's always the unexpected. Trust me, we've done plenty of renovation, and the architects are pretty sure that everything that they've done to this point is 100%. But there's never a guarantee. I can testify to that. Never a guarantee. Again, that's why we put the 15% contingency in there. So we don't want to keep coming back and amending the budget and amending the budget. That's the reason why we do that.
And then the third question, and you answered it in part already, which is you talked about the asbestos remediation turned out to be a larger undertaking than had originally been anticipated because it's an old building, and that right now our expenses, I think you just said, was set in the area of $700,000 with respect to that. Are there other expenses that we have either incurred or that now we're expecting to incur that were not expected at the time that we had adopted this budget?
I can tell you that the architects did a great job. Again, we went to design and review. We ran it by them with a presentation. We did run it by the city council with a presentation. As you're aware, there's going to be another elevator in City Hall. For the one elevator, being used primarily just for prisoner transport from the police department to the courtrooms now. Another one just for the public, which we only have one in there. As far as any more, I can't. Again, I think they did a great job. I think they've done a great job.
I think I could probably speak to the costs at this point now. I've had some time to look into it. I hadn't had a lot of time to look into exactly what was going on with the budget. I was busy with some other things, but had some time. And what I think has happened at this moment is that the project costs look to be below actually our original estimate, but insurance is also below our actual original estimate. So we are receiving a smaller percentage of the total project costs from insurance, which is leading us to amend the capital budget for a total of, we're gonna amend for 4.2. 3 million of that, the one thing I haven't had a real chance to do, and I prefer to do before I come and vote on a capital budget amendment, but I also understand that there are some potential issues with losing the contractor. We've already gone out to bid once on this before this time. So the actual dollar amount that we need to come up with, additional dollar amounts that we need to come up with, are about $3 million. And but the estimate overall, the budget estimate, is in line with what was originally presented, if that makes sense. A little bit lower, actually.
It is lower.
But we've got different percentages of insurance versus what the city is now going to need to pick up. And as the commissioner stated, there are things that we are doing now, more asbestos removal, the elevator, the courtroom, the MEP. Some of these things came in potentially higher than originally estimated, but the overall bid project came in just about where we estimated and actually a little bit lower, if that helps to make some sense. It's still a large capital budget amendment. I mean, I've had capital budgets that didn't total more than $3 million in a year. So I understand the seriousness of amending a capital budget for $3 million, 4.2, but 1.2 million of that we're exactly, we're pulling in from insurance.
And again, this was a WIX project, so we had to go out and bid separately the plumbing, the general contractor, the electrical, because it's over $500,000. So there's an additional expense when you do it that way. I don't think the city's ever done a project, of that caliber, like you said, $10 million project. I mean, it's never done it. They've never done that, at least not to my knowledge. But again, it was, City Hall was beginning to be a major issue. I mean, things were walls were built here, walls were falling apart inside, loaded with asbestos. I mean, I don't have the numbers on how much they took out of there, but they took quite a bit out of there. And I mean, it was buried in the ground. I mean, it was a health hazard. It was a safety hazard. It was dim lit. I mean, you name it, it was in there. So if nothing else, we're going to go into a building that's a lot brighter building that's more user friendly for the employees. And And we did have to move things around. Hopefully there'll be more security in there, because we moved my offices upstairs to where engineering is, and now public safety will take that whole ground floor, which hopefully that'll secure the building a little bit more. So some of the changes that we made were I think were good changes. And I mean, unfortunately, yes, it's an expensive project, but do it now or do it down the road. If we do it down the road, I think it's going to be twice as much, because eventually it was going to have to be done. I mean, again, we had the mandate from the Office of Court Administration, and we had no choice but to do that. We struggled, I can't tell you, we struggled to try to figure out how we were going to get it done. I mean, and without moving somebody or without doing something. And I'm going to say the lightning strike was I guess a godsend, because it allowed us to accommodate the Office of Court Administration, get that off our plate, not leave it for some future city council to take care of, and along with City Hall, getting that done, more space for public safety, more space for pretty much everybody, a cleaner building, a better lit building, and again, more user friendly for the employees. I just think it's a win-win. I think yeah, it's a lot of money, but in the end, if you look at if we had to do it down the road, it was going to be a lot more money. So, and again, we'd be leaving it for another city council. I didn't think that was the right thing to do either.
So if I may, and I think that the goal of completing the renovations to City Hall as quickly, efficiently as possible is a goal that we all share. I'd like to, I guess, share one observation and make one recommendation. The observation is one of the issues that I hear more about from my constituents is what's going on with City Hall, what's going on with that expense. I will tell you, some of the comments are snide, and some of the comments are just honest inquiries. I mean, you all know what that's about. Okay. But my observation is there's a large number of people in the city who are seeking out information about the progress. Whoa, that was one of them right there.
Siri and city sound similar.
Oh
I figured it
gosh.
out, because sometimes my Siri goes out when I
That
say
was
city.
weird.
Refocus.
So there are a large number of constituents in the city who would like to know more about the progress of where we are, what's getting accomplished, what's being spent, when we think we should be complete. My recommendation is if we could put together a public presentation that maybe included PowerPoints and would be understandable in plain English by the public, I think that it would help every member at this table explain to their constituents what's going on.
Well, I agree with you that the communication is key. I think that we could ask our communications person to maybe take that on with DPW and keep updating the website. I think that would be something that we could do relatively quick, to do that. But
Yeah, the website, social media, but I have to agree with you, Commissioner. It's a big project, like you said. Both Commissioner Scirocco, Commissioner Martin, and there are a lot of questions. I mean, I had a lot of questions. It took me a while to come up to speed with right where we are with City Hall. And anytime we can educate the public a little bit more about what we're doing, and where we are with City Hall, I think we should take advantage of that. So we can certainly use social media, we can certainly, use the website, but it would not be, it would be, I think, a good thing to have an updated presentation, before City Council at some point in time. We've got a little more time for the public, so they can see it on film as well and read about it in the minutes.
Right. Again, we spent probably the last 4 or 5 months just removing asbestos. Yep. That's all we did. And when we did that, we had to do change order after change order after change order. So basically, that's the process that we followed. I don't disagree that, now is probably the time to come back and say, okay, we're at the point where we're going to do the rebuild. This is when we actually planned the presentation. Yep. We actually planned it at this point. When everything was remediated, everything was taken out of there, then we were going to go ahead and do it this way. So we're in the process of working on something like that right now.
Excellent.
And I think everybody will be pretty happy with the result.
Great. Any other comments?
Yeah, my suggestion would just be, before we get a presentation, is let these guys get into the building and start it first, because we tell people we're going to open a year, we keep throwing out dates, and I think we were shooting from the hip a little bit with what, it's just too early into the process, and hope, once these things are awarded, and, Skip, you feel comfortable working with the project manager, at that point in time, then, they can come and tell, where we are with the WIP on it, work in process, the construction in progress, but they got to get in there and really get started, because like you said, they're still going to find things. And then they can give a range of when they expect it to be ready.
That's fine, except I'll admit that even yesterday, I really didn't know about the planned phased approach. So if I didn't know about a planned phased approach, probably the rest of the public doesn't know about the whole approach. So anytime we can really communicate better what we're doing with City Hall, I think to the public, it behooves us to do so.
Right, as long as you know what you're communicating, because we have communicated things to the public, and that's why they're told us it was going to be open, September of this year, told us it was going to be open early in the year, told us it was going to be partially open. I just think you have to, feel real comfortable and then go from there. You can tell the city council, obviously, as you're going, but, just so it doesn't come back to bite you.
Right. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Frank?
Aye.
Commissioner Madigan?
Aye.
Commissioner Scirocco?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Aye. Thank you. Now we're going to move.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes, you may, sir.
I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with the city council. I've been in politics probably 20 years, and I have yet to see a council this responsive. It just hasn't happened. This, again, was the biggest project that city could ever undertake, and you all have been great. I can't say enough about how good it's been and how easy you made it for me to get this project done. And I think the residents of the city will thank each and every one of us when we put that plaque up in the hallway, that this building was redone, renovated for you, the taxpayers in the city, with you in mind. And I think that's going to go a long way. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you for driving it. Yep. Okay, we're going to turn it over to Commissioner Madigan at this time.
So now it will be my pleasure, Commissioner Scirocco, to do the discussion and vote of the 2019 bond resolution. Okay, so we just had the public hearing earlier this evening on the capital budget amendment to approve the increase in the amount of city buildings and facilities project number 1141. The DPW amendment called for the source of funds to be bonds and insurance. The attached 2019 bond resolution authorizes the issuance of $2,912,712 in bonds to finance the reconstruction of various city buildings and facilities, including City Hall. The resolution was previously distributed with the agenda. This resolution does require 4/5 approval and a record of how each council member voted, so we will need a roll call vote, and I request your approval of the 2019 bond resolution. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Frank?
Aye.
Commissioner Madigan?
Aye.
Commissioner Scirocco?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Mayor Kelly?
Aye.
Thank you. On to my item number 4, which is a discussion and vote, budget transfers insurance. Lines 1 through 4 will move money from the City Hall loss lines to the interfund transfer line, so insurance funds can be used for capital project number 1141, city buildings and facilities. Lines 5 and 6 are to move City Hall related insurance funds from property loss to other supplies. I request your approval of the budget transfer insurance as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you. Item number 5 is a discussion and vote, budget amendment, capital, city buildings and facilities, $4,226,700. This item establishes the appropriation for capital budget project number 1141, city buildings and facilities, as discussed during the capital budget amendment that we just had on the Public Works agenda, Commissioner Scirocco. Lines 1 through 4 are to record the receipt of $1.3 million of insurance proceeds for City Hall and $2.9 million of bond proceeds, and to increase associated capital expense budget. I request your approval of the budget amendment, capital, city buildings and facilities, as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion. We do not require a roll call because we just did one under the Commissioner's agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to go back now on our agenda, back to accounts.
Thank you, Mayor. So we'll do the award of bid for the City Hall electrical construction to DLC Electric LLC upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Works. I move to award the bid for City Hall electrical construction to DLC Electric LLC in an amount not to exceed $2,250,000. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Second is award of bid City Hall plumbing construction to Colette Mechanical, Inc. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Works, I move to award the bid for City Hall plumbing construction to Colette Mechanical, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $887,000. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Third item is award of bid, extension of bid HVAC services to BPI Mechanical Services for DPS. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Safety, I move to extend the award of bid for HVAC services to BPI Mechanical Services, Inc. for the Department of Public Safety for an additional year under the same terms, conditions, and prices. It's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The fourth item is award of bid, extension of bid plumbing services to BPI Mechanical Services, Inc. for DPS. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Safety, I move to extend the award of bid for plumbing services to BPI Mechanical Services, Inc. for the Department of Public Safety for an additional year under the same terms, conditions, and prices. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you. The last item, number 5, is an award of bid for precast manhole, catch basin, dry wells, risers, frames, and covers to Paletti Stone Corp. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Works, I move to award the bid for precast manhole, catch basins, dry wells, risers, frames, and covers to Paletti Stone Corporation as distributed with this agenda. It's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my agenda.
Thank you. Back to finance, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1 is a discussion and vote budget amendment, use of assigned fund balance sick leave. Lines 1 through 2 are to use $68,467.56 for sick leave buyouts in the Department of Public Safety. Prior to approval, the assignment has $300,000 and it will have a balance of $231,532.44 following approval. As a reminder, this assignment was created through last year's fund balance recommendations as a way to fund the often unexpected sick leave buyouts that we are contractually obligated to pay. This assignment provides a funding source without putting a strain on the operating budget, and it's functioning just the way we had intended. I request your approval of the budget amendment, use of assigned fund balance sick leave, as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is discussion and vote budget amendment, capital increase for the Geyser Road Trail. Earlier this evening, we had a public hearing that was held for the Geyser Road Trail capital budget amendment, and during the mayor's agenda, we authorized the increase to the capital budget. This item will establish the appropriation and the source of the funds as federal grants. I request your approval of the budget amendment, capital increase, Geyser Road Trail, as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion. Again, no roll call is needed, as the mayor did it on her agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. That completes my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is approval, discussion and vote to approve to pay an invoice number 1823159H-A in the amount of $6,231 to Alpine Environmental Services for additional asbestos sampling in City Hall. This invoice with Alpine Environmental is for additional air sampling and analysis that was performed in City Hall. Therefore, I move for approval to pay invoice number 1823159H-A in the amount of $6,231 to Alpine Environmental Services for additional asbestos sampling in City Hall. And I put that in form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Second item on my agenda, discussion and vote, authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement with Alpine Environmental Services in the amount of $13,375 for City Hall. Alpine Environmental are the professionals on site performing asbestos abatement, oversight, and testing at City Hall since asbestos abatement work began. This agreement between Alpine and the City of Saratoga is for the remaining asbestos abatement, air monitoring, and variance services in conjunction with the asbestos project at City Hall. And I just want to add that they're going to have to be here for the total time of the project, doing air sampling and that sort of thing. So therefore, I move for approval for the mayor to sign an agreement with Alpine Environmental Services in the amount of $13,375, and that's for City Hall, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Third item on my agenda is discussion and vote, approval to pay invoice number W06051 in the amount of $1,905.64 to NYNE Equipment LLC for the compost site grinder. This invoice with NYNE Equipment is for repairs to the compost site grinder, the belly belt, which rides on the idler roller, the belly belt, okay, which rides on the idler roller, needed new lacing, and the idler was cleared of all debris. Okay, so therefore I move for approval to pay invoice number W06051 in the amount of $1,905.64 to NYNE Equipment LLC for the compost site grinder, and I put that in form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Fourth item on my agenda is discussion and vote, authorization for the mayor to sign the sidewalk agreement. The sidewalk agreement is for 114 Van Dam Street. It's 270 square foot of sidewalk with a ramp, and it's at $15 a square foot for a total of $4,050. Therefore, I move for the mayor to sign a sidewalk agreement in the amount of $4,050 for 114 Van Dam Street, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Fifth item on my agenda is discussion and vote, authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement with Paletti Stone Corporation for precast manholes, catch basins, dry wells, and risers. This agreement between Paletti Stone Corporation and the City of Saratoga Springs is to provide the city with manholes, catch basins, dry wells, frames, and covers. Terms of this agreement are effective upon approval and completion by July 3rd, 2020. Therefore, I move to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Paletti Stone Corporation not to exceed $70,840.80 for precast manholes, catch basins, dry wells, and risers, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Seventh item on my agenda is discussion and vote. We already did 6, so I can move to 7. Is discussion and vote, authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement with DLC Electric LLC in the amount of $2,250,000 for the City Hall renovation electric. This agreement with DLC Electric LLC of Troy, New York in the amount of $2,250,000 includes all electrical work for the renovations to City Hall in accordance with the designs prepared by Clark, Patterson Lee, and Messick, Cohen, Wilson Baker architects. The total award bid is broken down in 2 parts, and it's base bid A and base bid B. Therefore, I move for the mayor to sign agreement with DLC Electric LLC in the amount of $2,250,000 for the City Hall renovation electric. It's a motion.
Second.
Yeah, I have a note here. Is this contingent on approval of risk assessment?
Contingent, yes. She's
Okay.
not here.
Okay.
And we
I
weren't
just
able to
wanted
get in
to make
touch
sure.
with her, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they won't be starting anything.
Okay. Any discussion?
Immediately.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Number 8 is authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement with Colette Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $887,000 for the City Hall renovation plumbing. This agreement with Colette Mechanical Incorporated of Latham, New York, in the amount of $887,000 includes all plumbing work for the renovations to City Hall in accordance with the designs prepared by Clark, Patterson Lee, and Messick, Cohen, William Baker architects. And again, that's the total. Therefore, I move for the mayor to sign an agreement with Colette Mechanical in the amount of $887,000 for the City Hall renovation plumbing, and I put that in a form of motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
I just have one note that this is contingent
That
on
one,
approval.
both, yes, they both
From
are,
risk and
yes.
safety.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
And that concludes my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to public safety.
Thank you. The first item is I would like to announce some retirements from the police department. The first retirement is Lieutenant Tom Mitchell. He'll be retiring on July 20th. Tom began his career in law enforcement in June of 1986 as a summer dispatcher, back in the days when we used to do summertime hires in the Department of Public Safety. And he worked summers until November of 93, where he became a full-time dispatcher. Tom took the police entrance exam on July 12th of 97, became a patrolman. Then he went on to become a traffic division sergeant in March 2008, administrative sergeant in February 2009, and finally administrative lieutenant in 2013. For over 10 years, Lieutenant Mitchell has overseen the special events in the city, which have grown from only 15 special events that we had back in 2009 to currently over 60 special events this year. It's a very large task. Lieutenant Mitchell has been very involved in the city's comprehensive emergency management plan, the city camera system, and mass casualty training and preparedness. So we are most certainly going to miss Lieutenant Mitchell. In addition, Patrolman Kevin Johnson is retiring on July 18th. Kevin began his career in law enforcement in August of 1991 with the Saratoga County Sheriff's Department. He stayed with the Sheriff's Department until July of 1999 when he came to work for us at the Saratoga Springs Police Department. Kevin has had a very successful career, having spent some time in the investigation division and narcotics unit. He most recently has spent multiple sessions as lead counselor of Zone 5 Law Enforcement Academy training young recruits for careers in law enforcement. Kevin will also be missed. On to my second item, announcement about the Citizens Advisory Board. We had scheduled the Citizens Advisory Board to be held on June 24. At the last minute, there were some conflicts that came up with some timing, and so we needed to reschedule. And instead, all we did is we held a meeting of our outreach event committee at that time. The new meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 30, here at the Rec Center in the City Council room. The public is welcome to attend. The third item on my agenda is discussion and vote to amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicle and Traffic, with respect to time limit parking in city lots and garages. This is a vote that follows on the public hearing that we had earlier tonight related to the upper parking deck of the Putnam Street lot between Spring Street and Philo Street. We will restore the upper deck of the Putnam Street parking lot to 24-hour parking, accepting those spaces immediately at the west end of the lot, which will remain as 3 hours. These changes were distributed to council and were advertised in the newspaper previously to this meeting. I move that the City Council amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicle and Traffic, to reflect the changes distributed to council and advertised. This is a motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Should we tighten up that motion only because the notification in the newspaper talked both about alternate street parking as well as the garages?
I'm sorry. So just with respect to the portion of the notification that dealt with the Putnam Street garage.
Thank you.
Are we good, Lisa? Is that good? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
That is the end of my agenda.
Did we get a second?
The mayor seconded.
Yeah.
Not used to hearing you say that.
I know.
Twice tonight.
I know. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. On to the Supervisor, Supervisor Veach.
Thank you, Mayor. First on my agenda is just a quick update on the NACO Conference, National Association of Counties, which is actually going to be held next week in beautiful Clark County, Nevada. we'll be honest about it, it's in Las Vegas. Basically, I serve on the Community Economic and Workforce Development Committee. I also serve on the International Economic Development Task Force. That's going to be a pretty cool meeting. They're going to actually bring us into the inside of the McCarran International Airport, and we're going to check out all the operation that happens there. So that should be kind of neat to see. I serve on the Arts and Culture Commission and the IT Standing Committee. Despite where it's going to be located, it'll be very busy several days of that conference. There's always a lot to do there. So we do vote for our second vice president for the organization, and there'll be plenty of other forums and educational sessions to attend while we're there. Second on my agenda is just a quick update on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. Our meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 9th this month at 4 o'clock. We're going to get our first update actually on the public safety building that's being built in the town of Milton. The construction manager is going to be there, and they're going to give us, take some pictures of the site, and they're going to show us where they're at this point. As of right now, the building is still on budget and on schedule, so everything looks good there. We are doing a contract with a company to run fiber optics at the new facility, as well as run fiber optic cable at the existing jail and DPW locations, as well as the animal shelter, which are all located out at the county farm out in the town of Milton. We're also going to do a renewal of the Wilton Mall DMV lease with the county clerk's office. And I actually have one extra item. I just came in today. I also serve on the Human Resources and Insurance Committee. Our meeting is tomorrow. It's going to be at 3 o'clock. We're going to be approving the 2020 workers' compensation budget. Good news for the city. We are going to have a decrease of $100,176 in our workers' compensation for next year. Part of why that is that I guess, and I don't know which department has HR in it, maybe all of them, the mayors, but the employees are doing a great job of using the county's resources. We have I guess it's called Corvell, and if they call and use that resource, it's a 24/7 hotline. It helps them to appropriately do the right thing, I will say, I put that in quotes, when it comes to insurance and, avoiding emergency room visits or urgent care visits if it's not a serious medical emergency, and using the proper procedure to lower the insurance cost for the county. So the city actually is going to get a better rating from Corvell, and that lowers the insurance costs in the county self-insurance workers' compensation that we have. So when you're preparing the budget for next year, there will be a $100,176 less that you will need to budget. So
Great.
That just came in today. Okay. So and we're going to vote on that tomorrow. So I'm going to make sure we vote in favor of the workers' comp budget, which saves the city some money. So with that concludes my agenda.
I have one question. Do you have an estimated completion date of the public safety building?
I think it's early next year, maybe March or April, but I'm going to have to.
That's okay.
Tomorrow we'll get a
fine.
definitive answer of exactly when it's going to be done. So
Great.
Maybe for the next. Oh, and by the way, because of the NACO conference, I will not be here at the next council meeting on the 16th.
I don't envy you being in Vegas in July.
Yeah, I know. Brutal. It's going to be a little hot there, but it is what it is.
Very, very hot.
So.
I know. We got a good price on that.
All right, thank you. That concludes my agenda. Appreciate it.
That's right.
We've got air-conditioned casinos.
That's right. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor Gasson.
Underground wall.
Got to keep me on track.
I didn't know if there were more comments that you wanted to make.
No.
So my first item is also the NACO conference. I am the only New York State representative to NACO on the Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee, and we will be discussing a lot of water usage with the federal government. We're looking forward to a lot of presentations from the Army Corps of Engineers that we've been talking about. Additionally, I sit on the Resilient Counties Committee, and one of our big focuses, particularly as we're meeting in Clark County, is discussing water resources as climate change impacts our communities and what we can do to help prevent the impacts of that and still provide for our communities. I also sit on the Veteran and Military Service Committee, and one of the things that we've been doing is working with the federal government to get more funding for our county veteran service agencies. Saratoga County is extremely lucky in that we have a top-notch, for the state of New York, it actually serves as a model, and I'm very tired of other counties trying to take away our veteran service personnel. I guess that's directed more to other counties than the city council. But the funding for it, both on the federal and the state level, is always a little shaky. So one of the things that we do is to try and make sure that we can support that funding, especially given that the VA and military services bring in millions of dollars to our county each year. Yeah, I think you said all the rest for NACO. The second item on my agenda is I recently posted an interview that Captain Dan Morley from the Saratoga County Sheriff's Department did with me, and we discussed the Good Samaritan law. He does a lot of work around the country on opioid and substance abuse, and he works very carefully with organizations here in the city. And it was really important to him to get the message out about the Good Samaritan laws, and if anyone is in distress or concerned about either being underage and being caught with alcohol or being caught with illegal substances, he wants to make it very clear that if you call 911, and I'm sure our police respond much the same way, that if you call 911 seeking help for yourself or someone else, that you will not be subject to prosecution if you were doing so in order to help someone. So the video is on there. He gives a little explanation about it on my official supervisor Facebook page, as well as about how to distribute Narcan and the trainings that are available for that, which he recommends everyone carries because you never know when someone might need it, especially with the proliferation of opioids being prescribed after routine surgeries and that sort of thing. And I have one other quick item, if I may.
Sure.
It appears as though the U.S. Census this year will not include a question about citizenship, and this means that this means that our population will be more likely to be accurately counted, which will hopefully lead to a lot more money than might otherwise be expected on the state and national level, especially as our population counting goes into how many supervisors and how they're distributed around the county. So that impacts the city's representation on the County Board of Supervisors. Although obviously we won't know how that impacts our numbers until the census is complete. But the administration said today they are doing printing without that question. So that concludes my agenda.
I wanted to tell you that I watched your video and
I did too.
It was very good
Thank you.
and very informative. So thanks.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Oh, and I had one thing
Sure,
too.
absolutely.
I will not be, no, I will not be at the next city council meeting. I'm going on a cruise.
Good for you.
You're not going to Clark County.
I'm actually headed north on a cruise.
Okay, any other business from the council? Thank you, we are adjourned.
Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.